It's an illusion. Fair enough? That there's a red feng shui round thing over there. That's an illusion. Easy enough? Okay. That's basic mindfulness. Well, a little more than basic. But understandable, at least. No? All right. So, thoughts or questions about that in particular before we move on? Lisa?
Well, there's more. I was going to share something that I noticed. The challenge in it for me was I immediately wanted to categorize it so I could decipher whether it was something good or bad.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That will be part of it. We'll lead right into today's discussion. Perfect. Okay. So, obviously, the whole focus is not about taking a picture of this and taking that home and using that as an object of meditation. It would also be that anything that is seen by the eyes is unknown. So, remember all those people of difficulty you've had in your life? Did you actually see them? Well, no, that's a reasonable question, isn't it? Because remember, we're here to get rid of stress and suffering. So how many of you have seen your enemy? People of someone in your family, someone at work, yourself in the mirror. Have you ever seen the person? Have you ever seen a person of difficulty? Don't forget, not only is this the removal of stress, but it's also the natural cultivation of forgiveness and compassion right now. Once you recognize where your enemies have been, and where have they been? Because you can't see them. Your eyes aren't capable of seeing enemies. And perhaps you don't know what your eyes do. Go back to 7th grade bio. Your eyes can't see people of difficulty. Where are people of difficulty? Where do they come from? This is what mindfulness detects. You see, what will happen if you don't see what's going on? You'll continue to blame others. Who's responsible for the way you feel? See what's behind this? Of course, then you might go, oh, I'm responsible. It's my stories. That's not what we're saying at all. We're just saying that there are stories. I didn't make any claim that they're yours. Fair enough? So nothing to take personally, nothing, it's not time to get out the old flagellation stick. Right? I'm just saying that there are stories. Now, having said that, a lot of people right about now, I don't know why human beings do this with me, but they do. They go, oh, I get it. It's just stories. Now nothing has any meaning at all. No, that's not what we're saying. So if you've heard that, existentialists and nihilists, Nietzsche readers, Kierkegaard readers, then that's not really what we're talking about at all. We're only describing where all meaning has come from, and has always come from, is coming from now, and will continue to come from. Meaning comes from the stories you make. So this isn't devoid of meaning. It's just describing where meaning comes from. Fair enough? There's a way you could go down the slippery existential slope right now, and I'm going, that wouldn't be very bright. It might be just like a depressive person to do that, though. To go, I was right, this is confirmation that nothing matters. It's not confirmation that nothing matters. It's a confirmation that you better be careful what you do with your mind, because your mind creates meaning. Including this thought, nothing has any meaning. See how that makes you feel? So that's not it. Yes, it's all stories, but they're meaningful stories to behold. Fair enough? Like your relationship with your family is a story. Does that mean your family's meaningless? No. Do you love your family? Yes, your relationship with your family is a story. Do you love them? That's the meaning of the story of family. It doesn't make it meaningless. In fact, it helps you to cultivate a more healthy relationship. This provides more options. This allows you to reframe when you recognize that meaning is the story. You can reframe things. You see how flexible it is once it's story, and not them as a person who needs to change for you? See how flexible this all gets? This is called the creative potential of the mind. Isn't that nice? Or luminosity in big high Buddhist terminology. It just means creativity, the display of awareness, that it's flexible. You can change. You can reframe. So if you just think of mind as always having two salient features, that's all you really need to know. It has the ability to know, right? The ability to know what is seeing, what is smelling, tasting, hearing, what is story. That's one ability to know, or what's called cognizance. That's one feature that it has. Not developed by a lot of people so far, but it is a developable quality to know what's happening, to be able to separate out what is seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, etc. That's one ability. And then the other ability is what? Luminosity. The creative expression of awareness. That once you know, once you have what's called wisdom, once you have wisdom and you see that you're creating your world, then and only then can you then begin to use that creative expression the way that you intend, the way that you want. Fair enough? That's it. Two features. Cognizance and luminosity. Knowing and creative expression. Gorgeous, no? In its simplicity and its elegance. Easy to get. That you make your world. You can make your world, or you can continue to suffer for a world that actually isn't even there in the way that it seems. Fair enough? All right. So this really puts everything in your seat. This puts everything in your seat. Now, it's one thing to say, and a lot of traditions make a big deal about realizing the nature of mind. It's not that big a deal. It's really not. It's actually just as simple as you did this morning. You recognize that things aren't the way they seem. Things are the way I think about them. That's called recognizing the nature of your mind. But the big question is, now you've had that realization, that big insight, that big aha moment, nothing seems to change for you. The question is, okay, so now you realized, well, now what? That's the big question. Now what? It's one thing obviously it's a big transition to not believe what you see, right? That's huge. Fair enough? There's no question that that's the first thing that has to be accomplished. You have to stop believing every single thing that you see, smell, taste, sense, think. That's important. But then you do it. And now the remaining journey, that's called the rest of your practice, the rest of your life, is the application of what you've seen to your remaining patterns, the remaining stories. That's the practice. People make too big a deal about seeing because they expect too much from it. Oh, I have a great insight. I finally understand how reality is taking place. Well, what about all the remaining unconscious behaviors? So there's one way to ruin a good insight is by thinking that the insight isn't just realization, but it's what? Enlightenment. You ain't enlightened. In fact, there's a long, hard road ahead of you, right? But at least it's a workable road now. At least it's navigable. Whereas before, you were always subject to, the outside world acting on you. So at least you've made that turn. But chances are you'll revert right back to habit, generally within the hour. You think you had a big insight, and then all that has to happen is, someone calls you and says there's a death in the family, and your great insight is, yeah. And so the insight is, for many people, a way to lose confidence. Because you've all had lots of insights in your life, and they don't seem to pan out. Fair enough? In terms of any continuation of expression. All right. So now what? And that's where we pick up on precepts. That's where we pick up on precepts. The precepts here, look, how many of you come from Judeo-Christian backgrounds? Muslim backgrounds? That's fine. Come on, you all have exactly the same. We all have the same stuff going on, at least for the first 5. So let's go ahead and list them out. They're on your paper if you want to